Comrade Chairman, the President of the People's National Party, Mark Golden, my friend and brother and comrade, Isat Buchanan, and all our friends and comrades and warriors present here. I came to Jamaica yesterday for one principal purpose: to speak at the University of the West Indies to students on the issue of leadership. Isat, of course, whom I got to know personally last year, asked me if I can stay on and attend this event. And of course, I agreed to be at this forum. I came to Jamaica 59 years ago. I know Jamaica more than 80% of the people here listening to me, because I've been here before you. I don't know how many of you landed at Palisados in September 1966 before that. I don't know how many of you. Damien, you never land Palisados before me. And I was a student at the University of the West Indies for 5 years, from 1966 to 1971, where I did a first degree and a graduate degree. And I went away and did a PhD and returned in 1974 and taught at the University of the West Indies for 2 years here in Jamaica, and then was transferred to Barbados to teach at Cave Hill. And in 1979, I took a sabbatical and returned to St. Vincent and the Grenadines to assist the progressive forces who are engaged in the struggle for independence. And after we achieved independence, the government in Barbados declared me persona non grata, that I couldn't return to Barbados. I had a woman and a child, Jamaican woman. And I decided, well, if that is so, I will continue my political activism. And there are many countries in the region in 1979 which prevented me from entering. I was born a rebel. I was born with a rebel seed. I was a young rebel. I am today an old rebel. Wiser, more experience, and know how to do things fairly well. There are a lot of things to rebel against. A lot of things to do better. Poverty, poor health, unemployment, insecurity, crime. And you may be asking, well, why is it that this old man continues? I'm 78 years of age. And I do not intend to leave behind any unfinished task. I have been Prime Minister now for 24 years. From 2001. By the end of this year, when we go to the polls again, I would have served almost 25 years as the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The People's National Party and the Unity Labour Party and its predecessor, the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Labour Party, have had party-to-party links going way back since the federal days. We're part of the West Indies Federal Labour Party. And of course, as a student in Jamaica, I was very much involved in political activities, and I knew Michael very well, and we corresponded. He was my friend. He was my comrade. He was my mentor. Now, I became president of the Guild of Students in 1968. And as a consequence of my role as a student leader, when the then government, headed by a good person, Hugh Lawson Shearer, was Prime Minister, the government decided to ban Walter Rodney on October the 15th. He had attended a Black Writers Conference in Montreal, Canada, and on his return, he was prevented from re-entering Jamaica. He had his wife here with a child, and his wife was pregnant. And when I heard about it the evening, I mobilized the students on and off the campus. And the next day, we marched in our thousands and were joined by thousands of Jamaicans of all walks of life to protest. We were beaten and tear-gassed. You can read about it. I've written about it. There's a monograph I've written. It's on Amazon. You can buy it, or you can find it in the library anywhere at the university here. And the campus was under siege for 2 weeks. And I say under siege with guns. And then we returned to classes. And shortly after we returned to classes, Sir Philip Sherlock, then Vice Chancellor, a great man, told me that the Jamaican government said that I was a security risk and that I had to be deported. And he made arrangements for me to complete my university education at the University of the West Indies in Trinidad. I went to the Faculty of Social Sciences where I was enrolled. Bruce Golding, my friend, was in that class. And I told Bruce. He said, no, they're making a big mistake. So he went to the office of the Secretary of the Economics Department and telephoned Eddie Siaga, who was then Minister of Finance and at Vale Royal. And Siaga invited Bruce, myself, and another Jamaican to come to dinner that evening. When I went to dinner that evening, Hugh Shearer called, and I spoke with him, and he said that they will reverse the order. So my friend Bruce Golden saved me from being deported from Jamaica. Sometimes when we got into conflict with one another in CARICOM, because sometimes our politics didn't see eye to eye. He said the worst decision I ever make is to save you from deportation from Jamaica. Now, when I came to the university in 1966, it had only been 5 years since Jamaica had voted to leave the Federation in a referendum. And when I came, the students from down in the Eastern Caribbean told me how Jamaicans don't like people from the Eastern Caribbean. The ghost of the federal past was still hovering like a nightmare. But I never like to take what people tell me. I like to find out for myself. And I began to travel all over Jamaica. I used to go on weekends, go up to Papine, the two buses which used to leave Papine to go downtown into Kingston. One was number 7. You remember the big Jolly Joe bus? Number 7 will take you past halfway, which we go down to 3 Mile. And the number 6 could take you to Crossroad and go downtown, and you could stop Crossroad. And you can take the bus. And you can come through Dialysis, Port Moran, coming right round to Port Antonio. And I used to put a change of clothes in my bag and my swim trunks. And I will go with no money in my pocket other than my bus fare. And every single Friday night and Saturday night, including in Port Antonio, they had a dance, a fete. And I will go, on every occasion, somebody will take me home. I was taken home in Port Antonio too. I know what's going through your head, but rebuke that thought. And I discovered that the Jamaican people, full of love. And I had to tell my brethren and sisters from the Eastern Caribbean, you all not reaching out. You have something in your head and you let that torment you. And I went with some other students in January of 1967, organized with the Cosmos of Westmoreland. I was in Jamaica only 3 months. And I went down there with about 20 other students. And we spent nearly 3 weeks. And I did laboring work, helping to build a day nursery down in Savlamar. It is when I went down there that there was a lady from Westmoreland, was also a student. I really didn't know her before. And I saw that maybe she was more interested in bringing water for me. And as the Holy Scriptures say, some begatting took place. And the young man who came forth is currently the Minister of Finance in my government, my son. Camilo. I give you the shortened version of my involvement. I give you the King James version. Rastaman, I ain't get the Maccabees. If I get the Maccabees, we're going to stay here all night. Now, I read about this Buchanan fella. How he was so persistent with Vybz Kartel. And that he won the case at the Privy Council when everybody thought it was impossible. But I didn't really pay any attention other than that. You know, I listen to Vybz music. I like it. I'm wearing Clarks. I don't want Popcorn get vexed with me. He's a Clarks man too. So my secretary told me that Isaac Buchanan is on the phone. So I said, put him through. He said, Prime Minister, I am Isaac Buchanan, a lawyer from Jamaica. I had to put him at ease. He was very formal. I said, tell me something. You are related to the Redskin Buchanan them in St. Elizabeth who does support the PNP? He tell me yes. I said, go on, talk. Tell me what it's about. And he told me about the illness of Vybz Kartel. And that he had heard that we had a special facility in my country and that we had specialists in endocrinology dealing with hyper and hypothyroidism and internal medicine. I told him, yes, we have some Cuban and Indian experts. And if he wanted to come, it's fine with me. I will have him facilitated to get treatment. And I told him, I say, and you'd remember this. And I told Vybz the same thing, told Kartel the same thing. I said in the book of the prophet Micah, the question was posed and answered. What does the Lord require of us? To do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with our God. I said, the act which I'm doing for Kartel is an act of mercy. Because all of us, we are on the dangerous road to Jericho. And we don't know who is going to be robbed on the highway. Who's going to need his or her wounds to be bonded. Because remember, the priest passed by. The Levites walked by. The Levite is a public servant, Well, the lawyer passed by. I wasn't surprised at that. Except the lawyer named Isaac. Except the lawyer named Isaac. But along came the good Samaritan. There are a lot of men who preach things even inside of the church. And don't preach it right, you know. That's why Bob Marley said, I feel like bombing a church because the preacher, I found him that he was lying. So some light, but you have many, many good preachers, most of them good. No. He said Kartel is here. And he wanted to talk to you. And he came on. And he said, Vincent world boss, the Jamaican world boss talking to you. I said, tell me. We spoke and he came. I know a lot of persons were surprised across the Caribbean. I got calls. How you can do this? Well, I just explained to you about the book of Micah. But Vybz then decided to tell me something that I knew that the Holy Spirit had guided me correctly. He said, you know, Prime Minister, I have a child with a woman whose mother is from St. Vincent. I said, what is the woman's family name? He tell me Cabral. I said, what is she first name? She told me. I said, that woman is my family. You hear me? And then I got confirmation by that the good Lord works in mysterious ways, his wonders to perform. No, you can't use his defense of Kartel to beat him with a stick. And anybody who does that would be wrong. I don't think that anybody is doing so. But persons may be tempted to do so, and that would be wrong. Tonight, I listened. Well, let me finish this part of the story with Kartel. He came to St. Vincent, and the young entertainers said they wanted to meet him. So I organized a session. And the first thing that Vybz Kartel told them, it's there on YouTube, you can see it. He said, I don't know about jail in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but Jamaica jail is nice, and I spent 12 years. He said, I don't know any jail which is nice. So I want to tell all you young men and women, stay on the right side of the law. Do not get involved in any trouble. And stay away from jail. Well, a lot of those young persons, many persons, including priests and teachers and politicians, can't reach them. But he was able to reach them. And I thank him for that. You know, there was a man once. You can look him up, you can Google him. His name is John Newton. John Newton was the captain of a slave ship. And John Newton began a process of change, having had a conversation with an old man in a place called Sandy Point in St. Kitts, who told him that what he was doing was wrong. And he reflected on this conversation. And not too long afterwards, John Newton stopped this wicked act of transporting enslaved African bodies. He became an Anglican minister. And he penned one of the most powerful hymns ever in Christianity. And it's sung every day in our churches. Amazing Grace. How sweet the song that saved a wretch like me. I once was blind. Brother Brewster, you're a preacher. And now I see. He emphasized that grace has saved him thus far. And grace will lead him home. The entire Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament, and the New Testament, including the books of Maccabees and all those which were left out in the King James Version in 1611. All of them is preaching redemption. One of the most powerful songs that Bob Marley ever recorded was Redemption Song. You know, I heard my brother spoke about second chances. I'm not dealing with second chances. I'm dealing with redemption. Last night, a student asked me a question. Prime Minister, you have spoken a lot about leadership. Tell me in one word, what is the most important quality for a leader? And the vice principal of the university was sitting next to me. Said, Prime Minister, that's a difficult one. I said, no, actually it's easy. And I went to the microphone and told her the most important quality for a leader is love. If you don't love people, you can't lead them. And love is a never fixed mark that looks on tempests and is never shaken. When you love, volcano can't shake it, beryl can't shake it, tsunami can't shake it. I know nowadays a lot of people prefer another four-letter word. I wouldn't go there. But love, L-O-V-E, the most important quality. And a leader must have energy and will, vision and skill, plus an X factor. What is the X factor? It comes from love, you know. And what is this? A lot of leaders say important thing for them to do is to inspire. Inspire means to put in. And that's important. To put in goodness, high quality and nobility in persons whom you are leading. And relatively speaking, that is easy. The more important thing, the more difficult thing is not to put in, but to take out from the persons whom you are leading their goodness, their high quality, and their nobility. And often to take out their high quality, nobility, and to take it out often when they themselves do not yet know that they possess such high quality or nobility or goodness. Every single person here, every human being has in him or her goodness, high quality, and nobility. The question is how to take it out. Damien? And you can't take it out unless you have love. It's not easy. It's difficult because sometimes people don't even want you to help to take it out. But you have to help to take it out, nevertheless, because you love. Now, I am not getting involved here tonight with Jamaican politics. Let me just make that point. It's not I can't tell you to vote for Isaac. And I wouldn't tell you that. I could tell you though that I've gotten to know him since that initial contact. And I consider him to be a good and worthy individual. I am not implying that anybody against whom he is contesting is unworthy. No, I'm not saying that. All I can say, and I can affirm, that he is a good human being and a worthy individual. And given his life experiences, to come to you and offer himself. Whether you vote for him, that is your business. And I'm looking on with great interest to see what will happen. By the way, don't feel that anybody could be offended with me being here. Because right now, in my country, a member of the Jamaica Labour Party who is a parliamentarian in a seat, a lady, I presume that she's a wonderful woman, from Manchester. She's in St. Vincent with the opposition party women organizing something, and all praise and glory to them. But we will meet sometime later this year for the 6th consecutive term. So I don't worry about those things. No. I was very impressed with all the speeches here tonight. I repeat that. And I was impressed because of the focus on two things. I closed my eyes and I was listening. Isaac thought the old man wasn't feeling well. You say, "You all right, comrade?" I said, "I'm fine. And I heard the focus on interests of people and rights of people. Two important areas for any consideration by anybody in a democracy. Your interests, your material interests, those interests which touch and concern your life, living and production, but also your rights as a human being. I heard that coming through, and I was very impressed with all what I've heard. I can tell you, talking about this matter with Vybz, because it touches on health. I support very strongly any health program which speaks to the decentralization of health, especially its diagnostic services. St. Vincent is a country of just 150 square miles. How many square miles Portland is? I don't think it's a lot different. In addition to the principal hospital in Kingston, the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital, I'm currently building $100 million US acute care hospital just outside of Kingston, the capital city. It's going to be one of the top hospitals anywhere in the Eastern Caribbean. But I also have rural hospitals, and I have polyclinics. And it's not one place we can go to for X-ray or ultrasound or CT scan, including rural places with X-ray and ultrasound. And in my constituency of North Central Windward, which is on the east of the island, the northeast, we have built a complex. We have a playing field. We have a 24-hour clinic, smart clinic, with all primary health care services. Resident doctors, dentists, social worker. Well, I'm dealing there now with the clinic first. Then I have a smart hospital. This is a rural area, you know. And then I have a modern diagnostic, medical and diagnostic center. I have all the diagnostic tools there, including MRI. You come there, you can do an endoscopy for $12 US. You can do a colonoscopy for $12 US. People leave in Barbados and come there to do them. You hear what I'm telling you? I have operating theater. Is the headquarters for oncology in the country. We do chemotherapy there, we make the drugs there. We have a number of specialists in all the areas. That entire compound, with the playing field and those places which I just described, all told, it costs us over 75 million US dollars. It covers intended to cover a population of 40,000 persons, including the principal area of the indigenous people. And in addition, at that place, we provide free hemodialysis. I have 60 patients there doing hemodialysis. They cost just under 2 million US to keep them alive. I will not allow the poor and the working people to die because they cannot have dialysis. No. I hear people say, but things not possible. That modern medical and diagnostic center, 1:04 in the morning, about 3, 4 o'clock, Fidel and myself were shooting the breeze in Havana. We're all talking. And he said, I want to help you with a diagnostic center. I told him, yes, but not like one of them small one where you build with Chavez. I want a special one. And they designed it, of course. We put our resources to build it. And we have many Cuban specialists there, different areas. Actually, you need to come and see it. Come and see it. Come and see it. Come and see it. Come and look for it. Come and see it. Come and see it. And you would see what it is. And you know, the opposition in St. Vincent said, I shouldn't build it there for 2 reasons. One, they said that the Soufre volcano is not too far away. And if it blows, it will mash it up. Well, the Soufre blew in 2021. It did some damage and I repair it. I got my house in the Soufre zone. I live a bush. I'm a bushman. I alone live up there in a bush. I live up there like a Rasta man but with internet. Rasta man need internet, you know. I have to connect with the world. The second reason they say, it's too far from town. You see a particular mentality? We have to decentralize our medical services. I'm talking about St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I'm not talking about Jamaica. I don't know what you're doing, but that's your business. I'm talking about St. Vincent and the Grenadines. You know, in a period of 10 years, I built in St. Vincent. And I tell you, when I say I built, permit me to just be modest on this occasion. Everybody thought that to build an international airport, I built an international airport on St. Vincent and I built a jet airport on Canavan. The only government in the Caribbean which built an international airport and a jet airport within a 10-year period of each other. One complete in 2007, the other one complete in 2017. And I'm coming to where people say that things are impossible. Damien been there. He came on campaign for his partner, Carlos James, the Minister of Tourism, who incidentally just gotten the prize for the Tourism Minister of the Year in the world. You saw that? Anyway, there's one place, properly speaking, we could have built an international airport. There's a place called Argyle. The problem is this too, is that it had 2 mountains and 2 hills. So I had to bring them low. I had 4 valleys to fill. I had a river and a stream to span. I had 140 middle and upper middle income houses to move and cause them to be built elsewhere. I had to move a church and a cemetery. I had to move a small hotel and 2 guest houses. And I had to do my work so that I don't destroy petroglyphs, writings, some which we knew were there and others which we discovered by the indigenous people. And to protect the writings of the indigenous people. It held me up a while. And when other persons telling me, man, move the thing, them, if you can't fix that up properly, I say, I will not build an international airport and let people call me a Philistine, that I destroyed the writings of the indigenous people. That's part of our patrimony. When I said we were going to build it, they said I was crazy. They even said they will make appointments with Dr. Debnat, who is the chief psychiatrist at the mental hospital. This madman has to be made an appointment. I went to the traditional sources. I went to the Caribbean Development Bank. No. I went to the European Union. No. The European Investment Bank. No. The agencies of the United States, Canada, Britain. No. I went to the World Bank. No. But I'm going to build it. I'm going to build it. Because you see, I read the book of Chronicles. And I know when David set about to prepare the materials to build the ark to house, the temple to house the Ark of the Covenant, he had criticism. And after he gathered everything and all the plans, God tell him, well, you can't build it because you're a man of war. You got to leave it to Solomon, your son. But I'm not a man of war. So I could do the plan and I could build it. Just like how people criticize David and Solomon for building the temple to house the Ark of the Covenant. They did that to me, you know. The Canadian ambassador, High Commissioner in Barbados and St. Vincent, came to me after when we nearing completion, when she was going back. She said they used to meet every month and say, they used to mock me. They say I was like the man from La Mancha, you know, in Cervantes' novel. Don Quixote, tilting at windmills. And she came to apologize. God give us a brain. And there are hidden resources. I call them hidden rationalities. These are material and human resources which are submerged, which are ill-utilized, badly managed. And these hidden rationalities which constitute the core of the genius of our peoples, you can pull those out. And we set about that. And then Just like how David and Solomon had gone to friends nearby, for instance, to get the cedar of Lebanon. Because he didn't have any cedar. So I put a group where they're not even talking to one another. I had Cuba, Venezuela, Trinidad and Tobago, Taiwan. None of them have relations with Taiwan. Mexico, Georgia, under President Saakashvili. Turkey, under Erdogan. Libya, under Gaddafi. Iran, under Ahmadinejad. Did I call Austria? And Austria. And of course in Vincent and the Grenadines. I went to Iran. The Americans came to see me. So I asked them, I said to them, Iran is a country of 80 million people. You cannot isolate an ancient civilization. Iran, I told them, I asked the gentleman who came from the State Department, I said, would you please show me in the Hebrew Bible or the New Testament, show me where America is. Yeah, you say you don't understand the question. Because America is not in either them, either in the Old Testament or the New Testament. I said, go to the book of Daniel and you'll find Persia. And the Persian king, who was not a believer in the God of Abraham, got a man, Daniel, who was a believer in the God of Abraham, to be the chief administrator. We had a long religious and intellectual discussion on the left. And when I'm finished building it, I went to America, I went to Canada, and I went to Britain to use their external agencies. The executive, for instance, to borrow money to do the tower and to the airport and to buy the tree. I buy them from Nebraska with money from America with a low rate of interest. I pay them back. I built that airport, finish it in 2017. The value of it when we finish it was over $4 million US. But we spent about close to 300 million because we got some stuff in kind. Over 400 million. It would be the value, but we spent approximately close to 300 million US dollars. Right now, we owe less than 60 million US dollars, and I opened that airport in 2017. And because of that airport, the best sandals in the Caribbean is in St. Vincent. You hear me? So when they tell you about things impossible, I said, don't bother. There was an area of 2 football fields wide where there was a trickle of a stream. But when rain in the mountain comes down and wash away everything that passed, you could only drive on the flow of the river to go across. That is what divided the bulk of the indigenous people from the rest. They say it was impossible to build a bridge there. We built a bridge there. And that has transformed the lives of the indigenous people north of the dry river. So don't let anybody tell you about things impossible. I don't accept when you tell me it's impossible. You're only pushing me to find a creative solution. And too many times we leave things there because we say it can't be done. We have to have more faith in our people, more faith in the genius of our people. Faith is an important word. Love and hope, they have to be conjoined with faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of that which we have not seen. And we have to have faith. But we must know that you just can't sit down and just pray and have faith. You have to work. Because faith without works is dead. And when you're working, now everything can be done one time. Now everything could be done one time. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. But I never know anybody who ever climbed Suffolk Mountain or Blue Mountain in a straight line. You have to take zigs, you have to take zags. But when you're taking the zigs and the zags, you make sure that you're ending up in a dead end, that you're going to the mountaintop. And that bond has to be established between the people and their leadership. Over the years, of my 24 years, sometimes the people faulted, Sometimes it's my fault why they faulted. And sometimes it's their fault in not having enough buy-in on the vision. None of us is perfect. No. We have had in our country and make the determination whether this applies to Jamaica. The British came and took control of St. Vincent and the Grenadines in 1763. And between then and the declining years of the 20th century, there was a colonial or amended colonial economy. What were the features of this economy? One, it depended on unlimited supplies of cheap labor, in the case of slavery-free labor. Unlimited supply of cheap labor, Damien. That's the first thing. Second thing, it was dependent on preferences abroad, whether sugar or bananas. It operated at a relatively low level of science and technology. I've heard a lot of discussion about all those things. I'm just pulling them together. And there was insufficient infrastructure to propel the country. You have to change in St. Vincent and the Grenadines to a modern, competitive, decided, post-colonial economy, which is at once local, national, regional, and global. And every single one of those words is pregnant with meaning. So, what you have to do is to build this altered economy based on an unlimited supply of skilled labor, priced at a level relevant to the International Division of Labor. Secondly, don't bother beat up your head about preferences. You have to be modern and competitive. And you have to use the cutting edge technologies. And you have to build infrastructure. No. That's what we are seeking to do in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. A lot of what was discussed, I pull things together and put it there as to what we are doing. Before I leave, I want to say this. The Secretary of State of the United States of America has issued a statement that countries which are complicit in his words with trafficking in persons and exploiting Cuban professionals, the doctors and engineers who come, that those who are complicit would lose their passport, they lose their visas and their families. Now, I know we're not involved in any exploitation of Cuban workers. And I know that the Cubans are not involved either, the Cuban government. I know the arrangements. And I believe that the Secretary of State is a good and decent man. I would not say anything bad about him. I don't say things, it is not in my nature to say bad things about people unless I have the evidence. And I have no evidence. And he appears to me to be a good man. And if he knows the facts, I'm sure that he will understand that we are not involved in that. But if it is determined that you have to take away my visa and Eloise's visa, I want to say this publicly. It could be reported. I'm not looking for a fight with anybody. But we have to be honest and open. The hemodialysis which we do in St. Vincent at the Modern Medical and Diagnostic Center with these 60 persons, without the Cubans there, I will not be able to offer that service. So, does anybody expect that I to go because I want to keep a visa, that I would let 60 persons from the poor and working people to die? It will never happen. But I believe that the facts will show that we ought not to be worried about the strictures which they are talking about. I'm finishing. I talked too long already. I'm sorry, I talked too long already. Jeremiah once wrote something, the prophet. You don't know until it happens. And the voice of the people, it is said, is the voice of God. Jeremiah said, and God talked to him, before you were in your mother's womb, I knew you. I made you. I blessed you. I sanctified you. And I proclaim you prophet to all nations. Morning by morning, new mercies we see. All that we need, thy hand has provided. Great is thy faithfulness. Thank you very much, Rodney.